Yo, this is Jara, and this is what I watched this week for the week of the 23rd of February to the 29th of February 2020. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019, directed by Quentin Tarantino. This really is Tarantino putting on a clinic, and there's not a whole lot wrong with it. The subversion of audience expectations with the ending of the film, alongside the loose but expertly tied up narrative, clearly shows Tarantino's control of the medium. He's really gone ham with the idea of a B-grade movie and how he can be seen as a B-grade movie director, and so he just runs with it in this one especially. The sick performances, particularly from DiCaprio and Pitt, are also great, but I did feel like there were some minor inconsistencies with the editing, dampening the film a little. And the runtime is long, but at home, as compared to the cinema, where I always feel like I'm scared of pissing myself in fear of missing some of the film. And so with that gone away at home, it really adds to the enjoyment. Dialogue and the extra added details, such as the things within the sets and the charm with the Rick Dalton starring TV programs and movies, make it a treat. I just wish that there was more Charles Manson, even though the lack of him makes the idea of the Manson family within the film all the more threatening. And this movie has one of the most violent but cool ending sequences I've ever seen. But yeah, this is a film that's definitely gotten better with a rewatch, but I might have just been too harsh on it in the first place. So I'm giving it a 4 out of 5, up from a 3.5 out of 5. My Neighbor Totoro, 1988, directed by Hayao Miyazaki. I haven't felt an energy quite like this in a film for a long time. It really captures childhood innocence. It captures childhood innocence and excitement unlike any other film I've seen. The energy of the animation, paired with the animation of the two leading characters, being portrayed in such a faithful, energetic and childlike method, goes a long way in creating the atmosphere of the film. It really transcends the adult barrier, with all ages being able to feel and experience its energy. Totoro himself is also sick, and in the English dub, some of the Foley work is a bit off, but I think that's to be expected with pre-2000s anime dubs. The film also nails the lo-fi hip-hop beats to chill and study to gloomy, rainy atmosphere. And so I think that's just where that whole thing came from almost. Character design, costumes, saturation is mad. The colours just pop and it just looks great. It's almost like if Animal Crossing was a movie. There's a sick shot with Totoro becoming a Beyblade, and it really is just a transcendent, childish, warm, charming film that not a lot of films can come to replicate. It's certainly really special in how it represents children, nature, and innocence, all while not having much of a narrative. It's just fun in a way that most films aren't. Energetic in a way no films seem to be. 4.5 out of 5. Hereditary, 2018, directed by Ari Aster. Straight up my number 2 horror movie after The Lighthouse. It doesn't fall into any of the traps of having one-note characters or a really bad narrative unlike most other horror movies. Secondly, it uses fear well. So often it's just jump scare after jump scare and the atmosphere is lost. But with Hereditary, there are no jump scares, and the horror is created through tight control from the director. There's great performances from the cast in this, plus the first movie since Muriel's Wedding where I actually enjoyed Toni Collette. Supernatural elements are fortunately not overbearing, although they do play a large part of the narrative. The miniatures and how they are used in the cinematography is mad, and there wasn't a whole lot bad with this film, apart from it not wowing me or fucking me up enough. All in all, it's a really great movie. Once again, coming out of A24, which is just paving the way for itself. And Ari Aster showing that he has a crazy wield of the horror genre without having a whole lot of experience. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. Pokemon The Rise of Darkrai 2007, directed by Kunihiko Yuyama. Going into this, I knew it was sick as a kid, but unfortunately it just did not hold up. The only good parts of this are the fights between Dialga and Palkia, but the rest of it is just filler garbage and not very good. Not much cool stuff happens with the animation apart from the fights. Characters are really uninteresting, including the main Sinnoh trio, and adding insult to injury is just the amount of filler within it. From focusing on the antics of the Pokemon throughout the first half of the movie, the opening credits battle sequences is just in every Pokemon movie I've ever seen. It's so overdone and boring. It's really just 60 minutes of filler to complement what would be a pretty decent episode of the Pokemon anime. However, this movie's just dumb and stupid and boring, and it ends stupidly, and I just do not care about this movie. It was not good. 2 out of 5. The Color of Pomegranates, 1969, directed by Sergei Parajanov. Now this was a nice palate cleanser after Pokemon. This is perhaps one of the most visually striking films I've ever seen. But there wasn't much to it other than that. This movie is an exploration of the life of Armenian poet Sayat Nova, presented in what could be called a very proto-Wes Anderson style that plays out like an art gallery, giving a visual representation of Nova's work as much as it being a biographical piece. It's a very pensive film. In my opinion, pensive to the point where it expects too much of the viewer to engage with it, while it is insanely visually striking. It almost works better separate than as part of a whole. The visual representation of life and poetry is great, but I feel like this film raises the question of, can we call this a film, or is it a different piece of art entirely? And I don't know, but that's what this film makes me ponder, unlike anything else I've seen within the medium. So I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. That's all for this week. Next week's vid will be later than these ones already are. But yeah, for now, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Letterboxd, Twitter, and Instagram, all at BIGVEEGZ, Big Veeks, at Big Veeks on fucking everything.